All right, welcome to Arledge's 10 questions. We've got our two competitors, lean, mean competitors. In the heart of the regular season, these guys are seasoned now. They're pros. We got 10 questions, a lot of them actually involving football this week. That may surprise some of you, but that's what we have. The defending champ, Mark, did you win last week?
Of course I did.
Well, you
The
say,
most
of course. I mean, there are weeks you
popular
don't.
phrase last week was Mark is right again.
Yeah, I said that once or twice. I will fix that this week. All right, so the defending champ in the red corner, Mark Culkin, and the challenger and former champ. Probably the way this has played out, you're probably like the 27-time former champ, and Mark is holding the belt for the 27th time. Whatever. Eric McKinney. Let's jump right into it. Because you lost last week, Eric, you get to answer first. Question number one. Give me your game MVP for USC Michigan this week and tell me why.
I'm going to go USC defense, and I'm going to go Kamari Ramsey at safety. I think that he's a guy where when you have a quarterback in Michigan's Alex Orji, where big time running threat, but they're still going to try to get him involved with his arm, with the tight ends, with kind of easy passes, that sort of thing. Having a guy like Ramsey where you can put him on a tight end where he's good enough to understand that, hey, this play action means this guy's coming back this way and I'm going to stay on him. I think you're going to see a bunch of like third down stops short of the first down from Ramsey. I think he's a guy that can come down in the box, give you extra hat against the running game. The front six is going to be big for USC. I think Ramsey's a guy where his familiarity with Dan Lynn and Lynn knowing what he can do with Ramsey gives you a little bit of a wild card back there in the secondary for USC. I think he makes life hard on that Michigan offense on Saturday.
I tell you, I knew he was a good player. I didn't realize how good Kamari Ramsey was. I mean, he's really good. He can play. That's not a bad call. I think he's not a favorite. Like Vegas would not have him with the best odds, Mark. He's a safety. How often does this happen? You're probably going to go with somebody who gives you better odds of winning, right?
It's interesting you went that line of questioning, Chris, because Eric actually chose the right number, just the wrong player. Lucky number 7 would be Miller Moss. I think is going to be the game's MVP. He needs a big game. This is one of those marquee matchup type of situations, going up against a great defense. I see Miller going for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's going to walk out of Ann Arbor as the dude. It's going to be Miller time.
Here's the thing. I want to give McKinney credit for going with the guy that's far less likely to win. But if you're picking first, you pick quarterback, right? If that option's available, you pick quarterback. That's like coming out and running the fumble rooski the first 3 plays of an offensive possession. It doesn't make any sense. It's too bold.
Track too. I mean,
look, I'm comfortable waiting till next week when I get my bonus point for taking the longer odds with Kamari.
Do we do that? Do we do bonus points the following week?
I'm willing to.
I'm speaking it into existence. Yeah.
Okay, that's exciting.
Just really just for this one.
That's fair. But until then, the bonus point goes to Mark. He's up 1-0. Who will win more games this year? The Florida Gators or the UCLA Bruins? Mark.
If Florida fires Napier quickly, Florida. If they don't, flip a coin.
What if UCLA fires Deshaun Foster?
I don't think that's going to happen this year.
I don't either, but there's not really a good reason not to. Okay, so you're going with Florida, but are they going to fire him? Because that sounded like the sort of answer I would give you criticize me for. There's a caveat in there.
They did hold a Sunday Zoom meeting, so I think they're just trying to get all their ducks in a row and saying, next terrible loss, we're pulling the trigger. They got a bye week coming up as well, so assuming they lose, it'll happen. They'll have the bye week to kind of get the team vibe back with whomever's going to be the interim coach. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, they're still dead meat though. We saw what happened when USC finally fired Clay. It didn't get better. It was a nightmare. Although maybe if they have an Orgeron on their staff, maybe it'll get better. Probably not. You're going Florida. You've never been a big believer in the Bruins, but McKinney always has been. What do you think? Who's winning more, Florida or UCLA?
So the interesting thing about these two that you picked is that it's going to come down to games against FSU
Right.
at the end of the season. UCLA's got Fresno State at the end, and Florida's got Florida State at the end. I think Florida is more likely to beat Florida State than UCLA is to beat Fresno State. So that's the win that gives Florida more.
I agree with that. UCLA plays the toughest FSU this year, and that's really a problem for them. Okay, I like the FSU comment. You get the point. It's 1-1. All right. Question number 3. UCLA was offering a rally towel at the Indiana game to the first 20,000 UCLA fans in attendance. I saw that advertised before the game. Tells me that there's some websites I shouldn't be going to anymore. Assuming that they only gave it to the UCLA fans, because that's what they said, to the first 20,000 UCLA fans, how many towels did they have left over? And can you use one of those towels to wipe away the shame of being a UCLA fan? Eric McKinney.
Well, first of all,
Look,
Eric, Eric, did you go?
No, did not go. So first of all, I'm going to apologize because I'm going away from this question because in my
I'm taking off the point right now. Go ahead though. Finish.
I was waiting for you to do that. In my research of what the towels may have looked like, or if people may have just passed on, like if the UCLA logo was too big and they said, I don't want to be seen with that. The next giveaway is against Oregon, and they're giving out Los Bruins t-shirts for Hispanic Heritage Month. And the idea that you would give away a shirt with a word that starts with LOS and then Bruins is insane. Like it's loss or lose or whatever you want. You just can't do that. I understand the month and I understand the giveaway. You can't do that if you're UCLA. So they're going to have 20,000 towels to give away first at that game before they can get to the USC fans in line looking for the Lose Bruins t-shirts to pick up.
And LOS is the way most UCLA fans spell lose too. So I think it will cause some confusion. Mark Culkin, Eric didn't answer the question. I liked what he had to say. It was fun, but he didn't answer the question. Are you going to answer the question?
Of course I'm going to answer the question. First of all, they have the same 20,000 towels left because the ones that they handed out, nobody took home. So they still have 20,000.
They just need to wash them, give them away again. Okay.
Sure. And after that game, no, they will not wipe away those tears. That was
shame. Shame is what I said. Can they wipe away the shame?
No, impossible. That's a skunk type of stink that does not leave. It takes forever.
See, then I have a problem with this whole promotional thing, because if you're going to hand out something to UCLA fans, it has to be something that is designed, right? Is specifically engineered to wipe away shame. Mark Culkin gets the point because he answered the question. Eric McKinney didn't lose a point, although I anticipated he might, because I liked what he had to say. It's 2-1, Mark, and here's one of our favorite Arledge 10 questions characters. Question number 4. Clay Helton takes his Georgia Southern team to Ole Miss this week. Will Clay's team play like Warriors? And what will Clay do to outsmart his former boss to get the W? And that's right. All you Trojan fans that are looking at Lane Kiffin saying, yeah, I always knew Clay. I always knew that Kiffin was going to be all right. He's a good coach. Don't forget how Clay landed here. Okay. At least I think that's true. I don't think Sark did it. I think he did. I'm blaming him anyway. All right. What's the answer? Are they going to play like Warriors? Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, yeah. Jaws will be all squared up, full of steel, ready to go. Chances of the Golden Eagles winning this game are somewhere less than slim and none. I do think that Lane Kiffin is still going to be egotistical enough that he will do something stupid. And you'll get a pick 6 from one of Clay's Warriors. But No, they're not winning this game. They're not going to Oxford, Mississippi and leaving with a victory.
Well, first of all, if they've set their jaws, I don't know that that's true. And second, I would point out that Clay Helton knows Jackson Dart very, very well and will probably come up with a fantastic game plan against him.
I said a pick six is possible.
You did say that. Okay. So Mark is not a believer. Eric McKinney, you covered Clay Helton for a long time. I assume you saw enough during that time period that you believe he can get this done.
So, right, it's two questions. Will his team play like Warriors? Yes, because they always do, and that's a given. They've never not.
Correct.
How will he? So the attempted outsmarting will be to load his team up with ice cream before the game. The blowback on that is the stickiness that creates makes you so much easier to tackle for defenders to bring you down. And that's what gets them at the end. It's a last second goal line stop where a Ole Miss defender just brings down a running back by sticking his hand to the jersey and bringing him down.
But what
so
if
a tough loss.
What if they get sick and start?
But they played like Warriors.
If they get sick and start throwing up, it's possible Ole Miss won't want to tackle them. Do you ever think about that? And what if Clay brings extra game balls so he can start passing them out to administrators like at the end of the first quarter? By the way,
if this plays Lane Kiffin's footballs.
Oh yeah. We're gonna have to. He's gonna pump all those footballs up. Kiff won't know how to handle that. I do think the ice cream thing could be a problem because of. I don't think Ole Miss is going to do the same promotion that UCLA is going to do for their last game of the year, which is air sickness bags. But if they do, that would be appropriate because Clay's going to bring in the ice cream. No, Clay's team will play like Warriors, or they will be declared as such. It won't actually look like that, but he will say they were. They're going to get beat like a rented mule. And while I would like Clay to win this one, most of the time when I wanted Clay to win a game, he let me down, and I expect that will happen again this week. Eric McKinney brings up ice cream. It's 2-2. Okay. Game other than USC Michigan that you're most looking forward to this weekend. Eric?
I'm going back and forth on whether I want to say 2. I think I probably will just because.
Game, not game.
Why stop now? Friday night, Illinois at Nebraska is all of a sudden an interesting one. Nebraska feels like the only team on USC's schedule that has gotten better from when we've talked about it at the beginning of the season. And that home game, it's later in the year, but that's interesting. The one nationally that is the biggest one for me, though, Tennessee going to Oklahoma. I think you learn a lot. I mean, Tennessee, again, based on who they've played, what they've done, they look great. I mean, that looks like a playoff team. Josh Heupel going back to Oklahoma with a chance to devastate that fan base. That's kind of a fun story too. So that's sort of the big picture national one. But for USC, for the Big Ten, that Illinois-Nebraska one looks kind of interesting.
So McKinney went Illinois-Nebraska, which is not actually an interesting game. I will not watch that one. What do you think, Mark? You have a better answer than that?
Hope so. UCLA at LSU, I was interested in, but that's like watching a man beat up on a woman. That game's going to get ugly really fast. Miami, USF, we'll see what Miami can do. I'm not that interested in that game. Eric talked about Tennessee, Oklahoma. The game I want to watch the best team in the ACC beat Florida State. I'm looking at that Cal-Florida State game. Cal is going to roll in to Tallahassee, and they're going to win that game. Mark it down.
It's like both of you guys tried to forfeit that question.
What's the right answer, Chris?
It's still
Wait, your answer is not Tennessee, Oklahoma?
Of course my answer is Tennessee, Oklahoma. I can't wait to see Tennessee hang 50 on them. But you gave a different answer.
Was me kicking the Big Ten, giving a little look. We got new Big Ten fans here. We got to introduce them to Big Ten stuff. All right.
Look, if you're a Nebraska fan, I respect your tradition, but I haven't enjoyed watching you guys in 30 years. If you're an Illinois fan, I never saw Red Grange play. I never saw Dick Butkus play.
They were in
So
the
I don't
Rose Bowl
have anything to
against
say to
USC.
you.
That happened?
Look, I mean,
What?
best team in the ACC. Just stop. I do think they'll beat Florida State, but that doesn't prove you're the best team in anything. That doesn't prove you're the best team in Berkeley. All right, it's still 2-2. Nobody gets a point for that nonsense. All right, this is one that you should both be able to nail. Give me the 3 best fight songs in college football. Mark Hulkin, go.
In this order: Fight On, Hail to the Victor, and whatever Notre Dame's fight song is called.
I think it's a victory march, right?
Okay. So
Okay.
in that order.
Yeah, okay. Eric?
That's mine in the same order. Look, there's questions where I'll go and find the Tulane fight song or the Ball State one or whatever. It's those 3 in that order.
It's not in that order. I would put Notre Dame's ahead of Michigan's, but still, those are the 3. And because I asked a question that was too easy, you both get a point. I thought somebody would get tripped up. I thought it'd be like the last question where you guys just, I give you a softball. I tee it up for you and you go crazy, say nonsense. All right, it's 3-3. Question number 6. Having watched LSU and Utah State in their other games, does that change your view of USC's team? You've seen these other teams play. What does that tell you about USC? McKinney, go.
What they've done against other teams hasn't really changed what I felt about them. I think Brian Kelly, I said it on the message board when he had his post game. I think they broke him. That has been like a panic, crazy sort of reaction to losing that first game. I think LSU sort of went off the tracks, and what we've seen of them wasn't what they had against USC. I think they're still fine, but the struggles and all that, I think, are coming from that game, not what they had coming into that game, at least not 100%. Utah State's game against a Utah team without Cam Rising, I'm not really taking a whole lot. So, no, I came out of those first 2 games thinking USC can match up physically with absolutely everybody on their schedule, and they can get their minds locked in to playing games in 2 very different scenarios, and they're a good football team and still there.
Mark, what say you?
Nothing's changed my opinion. Look, USC's win against LSU spoke for itself. LSU went on the road, and as much as they struggled, it's not an easy place to play in Columbia. So the fact that they were able to figure it out eventually and leave with a victory, that helps USC's cause. And the fact that USC shut out Utah State, and then Utah State was able to move the ball and score on Utah, which is supposed to have a good defense, I think also makes a strong case for USC that, you know what, this team's pretty good. And this, not to throw a dart at the host, but this question probably would have been better after this upcoming week's game.
Yeah, you think so? I should have saved this one, you think?
I think so.
Okay. Eric gets the point. It's 4-3.
I mean, it felt like a dart to me. Yes.
It did. Look,
I think Chris admits it, though. I think
Chris, look, I think you're both right. LSU is not as dominant up front offensively as people expected them to be. I think we know that now. Although that South Carolina defensive front is for real.
Yeah.
South Carolina just beat the tar out of Kentucky the week before. Like, just treated them like a junior high school team. And I thought, I saw the score. I thought, Kentucky's probably not any good. I don't know. They looked pretty good the other night. I think a lot of people may struggle in South Carolina. Getting yourself down in a 17-0 hole on the road at that place against that team and finding a way to win. Granted, South Carolina had to do some things to help, but actually that impresses me. That is a very good win to come back the way they did. LSU is going to be all right. I mean, their season's going to come down to whether or not they can beat Ole Miss in a few weeks. They're not going to struggle into UCLA. They're not going to struggle the week after that. If they find a way to beat Ole Miss, and I think they get that game at home, if I'm not mistaken, then you're looking at a team who's a legitimate playoff contender. So we'll see what they've got. But no, I'm not troubled by LSU's start. Although I do think LSU offensively While they've been good in pass protection, they haven't run the ball the way I think they expected to, and we'll see whether that changes.
I think it was their run that saved them though against South Carolina. It wasn't their passing game that put them over the top.
You know, they ran well. It was both. Nussmeier had a good day. I mean, they ended up with pretty good offensive numbers, but and I think I know the answer to this question because Mark's already told us. But question number 8. Florida State is a slight favorite at home against Cal this week. If you had to bet everything you have, who do you pick? Mark, I already know what your answer is going to be. Let's ask Eric. Eric, if you had to bet it all, if your life is on the line, who you picking? Cal on the road at Florida State? Because if you say that, that would be the first team that anybody has ever said that.
The under.
It's not a terrible call. Doesn't answer the question. So I'll let Mark answer the question. Go ahead, Mark. You going to pick Florida State in this one?
No, I think Justin Wilcox is going to make DJU quit football after this game. Cal leads the country with 9 interceptions defensively as a team. They're only giving up 184 yards through the air.
I mean, it's hard to imagine that DJ would be susceptible to something like that. But if you say so,
he is going to be crying by the time this game is over. Not just figuratively speaking. I think he's going to be crying with real tears.
Well, I don't know anything about his emotional makeup, so I'm not going to make a prediction on that. I will say that one of the most stunning off-season decisions was a decision to go and make that your guy and pay him money. Yeah. That's stunning to me. I mean, maybe he just didn't see the last 4 years, but geez, whatever. Okay. Mark, congratulations. You answered the question. Eric did not. It's 4-4. We got 2 questions left. As Michigan and USC are both set to play their second blue blood in 3 games, Ohio State is also set to play its toughest game of the season thus far, Marshall. Should Ryan Day apologize, and what should he say? Eric McKinney, go ahead.
Look, I know I'm punting on this game already, but here's the truth about this. I know we want to pile on him. They had a game against Washington set for this one that would have been, again, playing against, like USC is playing against the 2 national championship teams. They backed out of that when all the conference realignment happened and all that. They've got Texas the next 2 years and Alabama on their schedule the 2 years after that. This year doesn't look great, but I'm not going to crush Ryan Day and Ohio State for their non-conference schedule when you've got Texas and Alabama coming up. And also, if USC played that non-conference, look, you wouldn't love it. Do you love that LSU's on there and Notre Dame? And we've gone into huge discussion about Notre Dame. Love the LSU game this year. If USC has a Big Ten schedule and Ohio State's non-conference schedule, I'm not going to crush them for doing that to set themselves up to get to the playoff. I love the big non-conference games. I would pick that every time. I'm not going to make them apologize for it.
Okay, so Eric chose not to beat up on Ryan Day. He's pro Ryan Day. Eric McKinney is. I didn't know that would be the case. What about you, Mark? Are you also pro?
Yeah, because Ohio State has a history of not having soft out-of-conference schedules, right, Eric? So you're giving them a break this year?
They do. I'll give them that they do tend to play one good team every year non-conference. They do. Not this year, but they usually
out of
do.
4,
yeah.
1.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. That go ahead, beat up on them. That's that. I mean, I'm teeing it up for you. I'm teeing it up to beat up on Ohio State. Maybe they're gonna come. Maybe they're gonna come watch the show because their rivals playing us, and then they get to see us taking shots at them, and they'll come back for more, like OU fans do. Maybe.
I think Ryan Day should just borrow Tim Tebow's speech. Just say, look, to the fans, everybody in Buckeye Nation, I'm sorry, extremely sorry. I promise you one thing, a lot of good will come from this. We'll beat Marshall, but you will never see another team in the entire country play as hard as your team will for the rest of the season. We might even beat Michigan. I mean, he should not be playing Marshall. I don't care. Find a lower level team from the Mountain West. San Jose State's always available. They're always going to be available. New Mexico State's always going to be available. Marshall, because they're close by.
Well, Marshall might be better than those 2 teams. Oh, yeah. Okay. So here's like
New Mexico State beat Auburn last year, right?
Yeah. Eric McKinney made a strong logical argument. It was not based on a USC, a narrow USC focus. It was fair to the opposition, and he will not get the point. That's not what I wanted out of him. It's now 5-4. One question remaining. Mark has a 1-point lead. All right, Mark, here it is. You can deliver a curse on any college football team in the land. Pick one and go.
So can USC put Conquest on a loop and just make you say they have to listen to that throughout the game, even when the play is going on?
Okay, so Conquest will play no matter like every UCLA game or just this one?
Every UCLA game. It's either that or UCLA has to play Indiana in football and basketball on the same weekend in Bloomington.
I'm surprised you didn't choose Tusk and force their fans to sing it. But okay, I see what you're doing, and I don't hate it. Eric McKinney, what do you got?
I mean, the layup, right? It's Notre Dame, and it's that they win every single game every year except for USC, and that's it. Every single year, and the USC games alternate back between a last second, USC touchdown, a last second Notre Dame interception, a blowout here and there. Like SC gets to win in all different kinds of ways, and Notre Dame is a top 3-5 team whenever they play, and every single year it happens again.
I love that, but I'm concerned. Are there years when USC won't make the playoff? Because then Notre Dame is going to win national titles in all those years.
Are you so down on USC that you don't think they're going to make the playoff every year?
Look, you know what? I've made my decision. Mark Hulkin wins this competition because Eric McKinney just wished some Notre Dame national championships to take place. And I've never been as disgusted as I've been right now. Gentlemen, is there anything you'd like to share other than maybe you should give your Tim Tebow apology now, McKinney, after that? You going to apologize to the people?
It will be written. Yeah, I'm writing it up right now. WeAreSC.com. If you get there this week, use promo code fight on no space. You want to spell it for Mark? FIGHTON. 50% off an annual subscription as we ramp up for USC's first Big Ten conference game against Michigan. WeAreSC.
No space.
No space. Okay, that's great. And if you're pumped up to see more UCLA football or to see Florida State, Florida, Game Time app is available to you. Go download that sucker, buy some tickets. I bought Penn State tickets. I think that it's going to be a good thing for me. We'll see. Okay, fellas, is that it? We done here? Okay. Hey, Mark, congratulations on the back-to-back wins. This is pretty exciting, defending your title.
That's a 28-time belt holder.
That's exactly right. Okay, that's enough. Everybody can stop watching us now if they haven't already. Fight on, everybody.